Here we are on the porch. Myself, my buddy Craig Aarons, and our good friend from Scotland, Scott, down there. So say hello, tell everybody hi.
Good evening. Well, it's evening here.
That's
It's
right. Evening
nine o'clock
Scotland.
here. Thanks for having me, guys. It's
Hi,
evening.
you're welcome. We see you don't have your name on the tag there. Just so you get some
Oh,
background, folks, about why he's here. This is our friend who heads one of the major, main paranormal. Uh, I don't want to say clubs. It to me, it's more like an investigative unit, but they do it historically. Paranormal in history is the name of what they do, and he traces paranormal activities throughout history. Him and his group. Currently, they've been involved in a lot of different activities.
Hmm.
That's why we got him on today. We would like him to tell us about what he's doing.
Yeah.
what would you want to know first? Yeah. Well, I say again, thanks for having me on. Yeah, our group's called Paranormal History. We started during about June, July time, 2020. Me and my other half Sarah started out just before the first big lockdown came on over here. We decided to try. We'd never done it before. I've been into paranormal for many years, but we'd never done anything like this before. But we decided we'll give it a go and see what happens. We thought we'd only last about a month, but 5 years down the line, we're still here. So we did some investigations, and then we got hit with a big lockdown. So that was us, snookered basically. So we decided, well, what can we do? We can't go anywhere. We thought, well, why don't you start talking to people? And we started doing podcasts. And that's how we met you fine gentlemen as well, through one of doing our podcasts. But we covered, I'm more the paranormal side. Sarah's the kind of history side. We've got Laura as well, who's also in the team. They're more the kind of history side. And when we were thinking of starting the group up, we thought, well, why don't we try and combine the both? We had a look about, on Facebook, YouTube, the usual platforms to see if anybody else was doing it, because we didn't want to step in anybody's toes, basically. But we found that, to the best of our knowledge, there wasn't anybody else doing it. So we thought, well, what the heck? We'll give it a go and see what happens. Because, you get paranormal, you've got history. You can't have one without the other. They go hand in glove, basically. And we started out for there. We focused mainly on Edinburgh to start with. Edinburgh being the capital of Scotland, and there's so much history there. Especially in the old town of Edinburgh, the oldest part of Edinburgh. So we started doing that, writing stories about the Battle of Flodden, Greyfriars, Edinburgh Castle. And then we started looking at the lesser known places on the mile. There's loads of, we call them closes, you probably call them alleyways over there. But up and down the Royal Mile, there's literally dozens of them. And people walk by them every day, and they'll look at it. Each one's got its own individual name. And they're given these names for a reason. One example is Advocates Close. It's called that because way back a couple hundred years ago, it was the main route basically for the lawyers and court officials to get to the courtroom.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as I say, people pass by these every day. They don't really take much notice. They thought, well, these places need to be recognised. We want to try and not educate people, but just make people aware that it's not just the major spots, like say on the Royal Mile, that have got history to them. These small places have got loads of history to them as well.
I absolutely agree with you, Scott. That is so important in every culture and society. Maintaining the historical context by which that society developed showing their history not only enhances their culture present day, but it keeps them from doing the same stupid things that our past
Yeah.
people did. If you
Mhm.
don't study history, you're going to repeat it, and not always the good part that you repeat. So, absolutely, I totally agree with you. What have you found? Have you found anything, unusual that other people haven't, perhaps? Anything like that relative to these spaces?
In Edinburgh, what we found was there's a place down the bottom of the Royal Mile, just across from Holyrood Palace. It's called the Guth Cross. And it's all it is, it's a small stone circle in the middle of the street, basically.
Mm.
People walk over this, drive over it, hundreds daily. But what we found was this used to be an actual execution spot in
Oh,
Oh,
Edinburgh.
jeez. Jeez.
And it was the place where the maiden was first introduced to Scotland. The maiden was an early form of the guillotine, basically preceded the sort of French version by about 200 years. And it was a man with surname of Douglas that introduced the maiden to Edinburgh, because what was going on at the time was, and I found this fascinating, that up until then, executions were carried out usually by hanging or beheading. But the council actually ran out of money, and the sword that they were using was, by its best, basically, and they couldn't afford a new sword to execute people. So this guy came up with the idea of the maiden, and it was designed in such a way that it could be dismantled and taken to. You had the Guth Cross, you had the toll booth up at St Giles Cathedral, and you had the Grass Market. These were the three main execution spots. So the maiden was designed so that it could be dismantled and taken to another spot.
Wow.
Portable. Hey, have meeting, will travel.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a case of, right, where do we need it tomorrow? Right, take it to the Grass Market, chop his head, and then we'll bring it back here.
Oh.
And the irony of it is the guy that actually introduced it, he was actually executed on it.
Oh no.
Well,
Big mistake. Big
it might be a
mistake.
bit of a karmatic thing. His own karma caught up to him, right? Came back and got him.
A big mistake in his part, But it was things like that, and so the Guth Cross is maybe a metre in diameter, these bricks. But you think of all the people that lost their lives on this one particular spot, and there's so many fascinating stories. There's one, Half Hung Maggie, she's called. It was a lady called Margaret Dickinson back in the 1700s. She was a servant girl, basically, and she fell pregnant to the Lord, sort of thing, our boss. So this was frowned upon. So what happened was she left the employment and she went and hid out in a wee cottage. She gave birth to the baby, but the baby was stillborn.
Yeah.
And so in panicking, she placed the baby in the river. The baby was found and traced back to Margaret. So she was arrested and charged with disposing of a corpse, and she was sentenced to hang. So she was hung, and her family came from Musselburgh, which is just outside Edinburgh, to collect her body to take it home for burial. And so on the way back, they stopped at a local bar, a local inn, and one of the relatives noticed the coffin lid moved. And so they took the lid off. She was still alive.
Oh.
So they took her inside to the inn and revived her, basically. And the thing was, because she had already been hung,
They
they couldn't hang her again.
Double jeopardy.
Yeah, so she lived for about another 30 plus years.
Oh.
And so that's how they call her Half Hung Maggie.
Wow.
Because they hung her. But
Half hung Maggie.
And it's just fascinating. These stories. There's loads of them, and that's what we're going to cover when we do our documentary Souls of the Old Town.
Can I ask you a question? That site that is right dead in the public area and everybody walks over it, how come they don't, distinguish it and cordon it off and, talk about what went on there? I
Have a
mean,
plaque or something.
something about the
There's
numerous lives that were, ended there, for right or wrong reasons, regardless, they were ended there. I can't imagine why they wouldn't.
you would think there would be, but there's no plaque or anything. There's very few plaques commemorating that sort of thing on the mile. There is one up at the castle at the bottom of the esplanade, which leads up to the castle. It's called the Witches' Well, and this was the spot where witches were executed.
Wow,
Right
what they
through the
do?
castle.
They dunk them.
No, they burned them.
Oh,
The witches in Scotland were burned at the stake. In England, the usual punishment was hanging. In Scotland, 9 times out of 10, it was burning. So they used to burn them at the bottom of the esplanade, which is a car park now, basically. It's a big, wide, open space. But at the bottom of it, there's a plaque on the wall, and it's called the Witches' Well.
and it was a big public outcoming too, right? A lot of people showed up, and
executions were a massive event. I mean, I know, over in your country it was something similar, going back
yeah.
quite a few years, but over here, I was like a day out. People would bring their kids and stuff, set off early, and if they were going to the beach or something, and you're talking about. But that's what it was like, we're going to see an execution today. We're up early and let's go, and and it became just a big show. How that made. I mean, I doubt the condemned was feeling very good anyway on the day, but I think that would have made it kind of worse for them. Certainly no better, but no, it was a major thing. You get thousands of people coming just to attend this execution. It would maybe last 5 minutes, and but they made a day of it, But then that got abolished.
I have a question. The traveling executioner who would be able to disassemble his accessories. What were the common infractions? I mean, what were some of the offenses that people would have to do that would require them to be losing their head over?
Well, back then, Craig, there was over 200 offences that carried the death penalty, and so it was anything from murder to stealing a loaf of bread. It was a major long list. The youngest executed person in the UK, as far as we know, was a boy of 9 years old.
Oh my gosh!
And he stole a loaf of bread. But you could do, could be stealing a loaf of bread, stealing a sheep, getting into a fight, basically. There was over 200 different offences that carried the death penalty. Interfering with a grave, because grave robbing back then was a major thing as well. So digging up somebody's grave, that carried the death penalty as well. Luckily now we don't have it here, but they kind of calmed down a wee bit in the 60s and then totally abolished it in 1969, I think it was over here. It was finally abolished. But I would imagine you were basically scared to breathe back then. And then when you think about it, see, I've thought about this as well, stealing a loaf of bread, you would be hung. So you imagine somebody who's not got a penny to their name. They're absolutely starving. Their family's starving. What do? Do they risk, death to feed their family?
Wow.
And it would have been a horrible way to live.
In a lot of cultures, families ended up selling their children, I mean, doing all kinds of horrible things, in order for everybody else to survive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, incredible. Society uh, has this thing that the human being is not valued very much. If a life isn't even worth a loaf of bread, I mean, wow, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was what we've uncovered, for one of a better word, was it was horrendous to live back then.
Speaking of strange things happening over there, any events lately gone on? Any national interest occurred in Scotland? You guys have any visitors or strange beings coming by? Aliens or other weird orange people coming from other places?
You don't get a lot of that in Scotland. You don't, the UFOs. I mean, I'm not denying existence. I believe there is life on other planets. To think that we're the only ones here, to me is just ludicrous when you think of the amount of planets, etc., that's out there. But in Scotland, there have been some sightings, lights in the sky and that, but they've never been verified or confirmed.
What about that orange visitor you folks had? Some big orange guy from someplace showed up. He was running around your golf courses.
Oh, right. He was here last week.
Oh, how was that?
Well, that was, I don't take a lot to do with politics at all. It's never been my thing. Up until our new Prime Minister took over. But, our country's in a big, big mess. But he arrived, was it Thursday? Sarah's just over there. Was it Thursday or Friday he came?
I think so.
It was Thursday or Friday he came. All the roads were shut off. The public were getting told that if they had any emergencies, they needed the police, then there would be a longer response time, because most of the police were drafted in to cover this guy coming roads and, whatnot. But there was a big crowd. He landed at Prestwick Airport, which is about 10 minutes for us. There was a massive crowd there to see the plane coming in, and there were videos up of, there must have been about 20, 25 vehicles in his, all heading towards the golf course and what have you. I thought it was a bit overkill. I mean, I don't know a lot about the guy, basically. I know he's not very well liked by some people,
No, kidding me.
No, I picked up on that now and again, just subtle hints. But to me, it was overkill.
Yeah.
It was way. I mean, there must have been about 20 plus vehicles taking him down to, and I was watching it I was watching the videos, thinking, right, well, he's one guy. I don't know if his wife was with him or whoever was with him, and no doubt he's got some staff with him as well. I thought, why do they need all these cars and vans and stuff? The 3 ambulances following them as well.
Oh.
I thought, we can only fit in one at a time, so why do they need 3? And I thought, well, that's 2 ambulances basically that have been taken out of service here. That, somebody might need, God forbid, somebody might need an ambulance. It's all no, we're kind of short because 3 of them down at the golf course. I just thought it was a bit overkill, but that's just my opinion. But I think he was here on our side for about 4 days, and then he went up to Aberdeen. But as far as I know, you have got him back now.
Yeah, he's back here.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
as I say,
don't misunderstand this statement, because we love you guys. We love Scotland, England, all of Europe. But I wish he hadn't come back.
well, see, I didn't know he was half Scottish. See, I don't know a lot about the guy. I know he was in Home Alone.
Yeah, he was. I saw
back in the 1980s. I know he featured in the hotel.
Yeah, they shot him. He passed through the camera. He did a shot there. Had a line.
He was saying that his mum was born in Scottish. I didn't know he was half Scottish. I mean, as I say, I know, there's a lot of Americans don't like him.
What gave you that idea?
It's just, sometimes, David, you read posts and stuff like that. You get a psychic. So you've got to be for a paranormal team, so it's kind of psychic. But one thing I will say for the guy, right, and our Prime Minister is making a total mess of this country. The amount of immigrants are coming. No, I'm not being racist or anything, but there's hundreds arriving weekly by boats across the English Channel. 5,000. Thousands of them coming in. None of these immigrants are getting checked. They're just coming in, landing in this country. They're getting taken by buses to hotels that the government's paying for. People are getting kicked out of the hotel. Hotel staff are getting paid sacked, basically, because our Home Office is bringing in their staff. You've got grooming gangs, shall we say, that are rife in Britain just now. They're outside schools, they're in playgrounds filming kids. Starmer's been asked many a time by the press, what are you doing about it? And he always dances around this issue, Your man came over and he was asked by the press, what do you think about it? And he told Starmer straight. And Starmer was sitting there like a spanked child. And you could see he was uneasy. And I thought, you know what? I know he's no like, but give this guy's due. He's just telling him straight what the press have been trying to tell him for months. The taxes as well. I say I'm not really into politics, but the farm tax and all that's through the roof here. And Starmer's been asked, because Starmer had promised no tax rises. We come into power, no tax rises, nothing. But everything, taxes have been right through the roof. So your guy was asked again, what do you think of the tax situation over here? He says, we abolished I think it was a state tax or something. He says, we don't have that anymore because people were losing their farms, losing their lives and stuff. And
Trump said that?
He said that one. They must have had a wee meeting doing a press conference.
Well, that was a lie because we have state tax. And the only one place Florida doesn't. That's where he resides, Florida. But and I think, is there another one, Craig? Alaska, maybe? I don't know. But all the rest of us, where we're at in California.
Texas.
Texas is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Texas and Florida. The two lone states who claim they can do it on their own till they have a disaster.
He was saying the thing that, and the other point he made was the mayor of London. He doesn't have much effect on us, but he's an arrogant, ignorant so-and-so. That's mayor of London. Nobody likes him. But he's Keir Starmer, one of Keir Starmer's best friends. And Keir Starmer's been asked, this mayor's doing a terrible job. What's your thoughts on it? And he dances around it. So they asked your guy again, what do you think of the mayor of London? He said, well, I'm not a fan. I think he's doing a terrible job. And I think something has to be done about him. And Starmer says, well, he's a friend of mine. But, your man didn't care. He says, no, I don't like him, basically.
Okay. I love you, Scott, but we got to get something clear between us because we're friends. He's not my guy. He's not Craig's guy. We don't like him.
I'm saying your guy because Starmer's on this side.
I know. I'm just getting an opportunity to say we don't like him. Okay.
I'd actually picked up on that. But, as I say, all in all, he was just hitting our Prime Minister with things that this guy had been dodging for months. Sure. And I thought, I was sitting there thinking
that. Yeah, he'll say some stuff like that for sure.
Get ripped into him, but that's just me. As I say, I'm no big in politics and stuff like that. As long as they stay out of Scotland, I'm not caring.
Scott, I'm curious, with your William Wallace project, what is the status of that at this point?
We've done 4 episodes of it, but unfortunately, our narrator Gordon, he lost his son a few months back, so I was about a month and a half ago with the commemoration of the Battle of Loudon Hill, and Gordon was there. I done a quick interview with him, and I was talking to him then, and he seemed okay, you know, and he said, no, we're going to get back onto it. But then we got a mail about a week after that, saying he was having a bad time yet. So I spoke to him, I says, listen, don't worry about it. You just get yourself sorted first. We've got the episode 5 planned out. It's going to be in Ayrshire where we live. I says, just get yourself sorted first, Gordon, and then we'll just pick it up, you know, where we left off. So we're hoping, excuse me, we're hoping maybe mid-August. I'm going to contact him about mid-August, because that'll be about a month now, so about another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And just drop him a wee mail to see how he's, pardon me, that's that coffee. Don't drink coffee and talk, just do it. So that's the status of it now. See, Gordon, he's not having a great time yet, but we don't want to push him to say when you're coming back. Same as Souls of the Old Town. We did have a plan to get filmed this month, but we were through in Edinburgh about 2 weeks ago for a visit, and the place was swamped. Wow. I've been in Edinburgh many times, you know, hundreds of times, but I've never seen it that busy.
Mm.
It was
Is that good or bad?
Well, it's bad. It's good for the tourism in Edinburgh. It's bad for us because we can't film. We can't. And they've shut off quite a bit the Royal Mile because the Edinburgh Fringe is a festival that's held every year. That's held in July. So they shut off big portions of the mile. Yeah. And you just can't get into them. And then straight after that, you've got the military tattoo, which is held every year at the castle. It's a kind of celebration of the UK, you know, the military basically. So Edinburgh is mobbed for the Fringe, always is. And then with the tattoo being slap bang after it, we're going to wait till the tattoo's finished and it dies down a little bit. It won't be dead or, you know, deserted, but it will certainly die down quite a bit, because when we were through the other week, I was disbelief for the amount of people that were there. I mean, I know you've got, if you can imagine, I've seen a many in New York, you know how they're all waiting to cross the road and then the light goes to green and just whoomph, it's like a tsunami of people. That's what it was like in Edinburgh, you know. So it's everything's in place for it. It's just getting in there to get it filmed. And as I say, the top end of the mile leading up to the castle, that's been closed off. And then the middle of the mile, where a couple of spots that we're wanting to film in, that's been closed off as well. Mm. So you just can't get into it, you know. So you kind of, how do you say, tune at the bit, you know. We want to get this done, but we can't get to it. It's there, but we just can't get to it. It's very, no doubt you guys have had that before as well. When you've been making your movies.
We've been in some situations, that's for sure.
It's just annoying, and we want to film late at night as well. Obviously, what I do is, as I said to you before, we're going to do daytime and nighttime, excuse me. But nighttime just now in Edinburgh will be insane as well, because you've got all the clubs and stuff and all the tourists are over, so they'll be out partying basically because they're on holiday. So what you think, you know,
what's party life like over there? I mean, I know the crazy things that go on here in this country. What's it like over there?
Well, I've not been out to a pub for quite a few years, but it depends where you go. If you're up north, you know, in the Highlands, they have what they call Cayleys. It's a night with Scottish dancing and music, and everybody gets drunk. I've been to quite a few. They get basically drunk and they just have a laugh. You know, they don't care basically. You know, 9 times out of 10, if it's in a pub, the landlord, after closing time, the landlord they'll have a lock in. The landlord will just lock the door, and the party will carry on till whenever. people collapse basically. And in the cities like Glasgow, Edinburgh. Edinburgh's quite a place. We've been in Edinburgh late at night, and you do see some strange sights. You've got the usual, no doubt you've got people being sick in alleyways and, going to the bathroom, wherever, in a shop window and stuff like that,
San Francisco, I get you.
Kind of like that kind of idea. But no, party life in Glasgow is totally different. Party like people in Glasgow, you do get the odd fight, but people in Glasgow just like to go and get drunk and have a good laugh.
That's
And
funny.
I've done it myself. Obviously, I'm originally from Glasgow. They don't care,
Sure.
and they'll cuddle anybody. You could be you could be English, Irish, Norwegian, whatever. If you can say hello, they'll go, "Oh, how you doing? So, how you doing, pal? How you doing, Jim?" And and it's quite laid back, and but again, you do get your idiots that just want to cause a fight, but they're usually shut down quite quick.
Is it like Ireland? Like I've heard in some places like Ireland, you got to be careful where you go and the things you say.
Well, yes, and there's some bits. I come from an area in Glasgow called Porch, and it's been called one of the roughest areas in Glasgow. When I stayed there, I grew up there, and if you didn't belong there,
They know.
If you were for another area in Glasgow, you came to Porch, then it was fine. No, but if you try to start any trouble, or one thing we didn't tolerate was drug dealing. There was a lot went on, but if anybody was caught drug dealing, let's just say the police never took care of it. Somebody else did, for want of a better word, basically.
Neighborhood took care of it.
We're quite protective over, it's going to sound medieval, over our women, over the women in the area, basically. If anybody was trying to anything on, or, beatings or anything like that, was sort of dealt with as well, But you do have your rough areas in Glasgow, but Glasgow people are generally... Billy Connolly, he's originally from Glasgow. He says the most friendly city in the world. And I've noticed it myself, I've been in England quite a lot of times, but I'll tell you a quick story. First time, I've got a friend stays in London, and I used to go down and visit him. First time I went, he works with the BBC and the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. He was going to work, and he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go and do the touristy bit. I'm going to get into the city and see all the sights." So I did, and I get the train into Westminster Bridge, and then coming back, I went into Westminster Station, and it was just like a sea of people. And London, no doubt, the same with the tube stations, it's like 20 different lines going in different directions.
Yeah.
I went into Westminster, and I'm looking at, it's just a massive big board, and I'm like that. I didn't have a clue where I was going. And I asked X amount of people, excuse me, I'm trying to get to, and they just walked right by you.
Oh, wow.
But then I heard a Scottish accent. I thought, there's somebody Scottish here. So I hunted them down, and it was a guy and his other half. And I said, I'm totally lost. He says, where you go? I said, I'm going to say, come on, we'll show you how to get Putney. So that way, I mean, nothing against London. It's a beautiful city. But see if that happened, that wouldn't happen in Glasgow. If you're arriving in Glasgow and you don't know where you're going, you can ask anybody. And 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you how to get there, or they'll even take you.
Yeah.
Even if it's out their way. Say, well, I'm not going that direction, but I'll take you. Make sure you get there okay. That's the kind of... It sounds like I'm putting England down. I'm not, we've got a lot of English friends. But it's just a totally different culture in Glasgow. But partying and stuff, it's friendly. do get the odd fight, but 95% of the time, people are just out to get drunk and they don't care.
Yeah.
I
You
don't
know,
know if
there's this television series. It's on Netflix, I believe, called Outlander. I don't know if you've heard of it, and it takes place in Scotland, basically, and about people of it, and it follows the history. It's extremely interesting. It's very well done. The sets, it's shot locally. It looks like to me, it's very well done. Sets, costumes, the historical aspects of it. They're starting a new season coming up here in August, as a matter of fact, Craig. Craig and I both watch it. It's a great series. Scotland's an incredible place. Just as a note, I always find things interesting, little things, and I read something about a gentleman from the 1600s in Scotland, a Mr. Thomas Usquart from the 1600s. He was a nobleman who laughed himself to death. Now, when I read that, I was like, hey, you talk about people who like to have a good time. I mean, crying themselves to death or something, but laughing themselves, he laughed himself to death. And I'm like, well, if you got to go, it could be worse ways to go.
I imagine there is worse ways to go. I mean, Scotland is. My dad was very patriotic, so am I. I love Scotland. The only thing that sucks about Scotland is the weather. I'm saying, that's the only thing, But Scotland is full of history. That's what makes it so fascinating. People don't realise just how much history there is out there. Like I said, Craig was saying about the Wallace Trail, and as I said on the shows before, everybody saw Braveheart, again, amazing film. But that just tells the basic story of Wallace,
Absolutely. Well, we hope you get that going again. When you do, we're here for you. We're going to have to wind it up here for the moment here on the porch. Guys, it was really good talking with you. You got to come back. You got to tell us what's going on with the Wallace thing when you start having that, or any other projects that you have. I don't know, Craig, is there anything you would like to impart here?
No, I enjoyed getting updated with everything going on, Scott, and thank you for joining us today.
It was good hearing from you, man.
Thank you for having us. It's been a pleasure. And I'll definitely come back and have another chat. I dare say there's lots more we've got to chat about, It's been great. It's been different getting asked the questions rather than me asking.
There's so much you know so much about Scotland and about the history and everything. It's like I start thinking up more questions, and I'm watching the time because I know we have so much time that we have, and I'm going, I'll ask this one instead. Okay, so you bring up a lot of good points about things like where all those executions took place. That amazes me. That just amazes me. It's there. Everybody knows right where. Well, not everybody, but I imagine local historians do know right where it's at, and people walk over that and never know the significance. What are the spirits? I mean, what are there? I don't know if that place is haunted. That one spot of all the people
that's one of the things we're hoping to, because we're planning. We've done a few investigations. In Edinburgh, done one in the Mile that we picked up on a young lady. So that is one of the locations that we're hoping to investigate as well, because you need to walk up and down the Mile. I've said this to many people, to experience it, to get the feeling. It's soaked in history, and a lot of it is dark history. Unfortunately, there is good bits,
Well, history is history. It's not our point to judge it. It's our point to understand it.
Yeah, and exactly.
You can't judge it unless you were there at the time, walking in those shoes, understanding where they came from, why, and where they're going. So, we can't judge history. It is what it is. But I'll tell you what, it was good talking to you about it. And
Yes,
I hope to
sir.
see you again. Come join us again, man, on the porch. It was good seeing you. In the meantime, all you folks out there, thank you so very much. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody. Thanks, Scott.